Have you ever been in a relationship where it feels like there's a one-sided tug of war? It feels like one partner has all the influence and the other person is left feeling unheard or undervalued. And it's not comfortable if you're that other person. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Let's look at the complex world of power dynamics in relationships. What they are, how they show up, and how you can work towards a healthier balance for a stronger, more fulfilling connection. Okay, so what are power dynamics? Power dynamics are the unspoken exchanges of influence and control between partners in a relationship. Think of them as the invisible threads shaping how decisions are made between two people, meaning who takes on particular responsibilities and how the partners will respond to challenges. Power dynamics aren't always negative. Balanced power dynamics can create harmony and foster mutual respect, where both partners recognize and celebrate the other person's strengths. But when unbalanced, they can lead to frustration, resentment, and emotional distance. There are a few classic patterns of power dynamics that often show up in relationships. Let's break them down. Demand and withdrawal. One partner consistently seeks engagement or resolution, while the other often retreats or avoids confrontation. Over time, this can erode trust, leaving both partners feeling disconnected. There's also the distancer and the pursuer, where one partner craves closeness and intimacy, while the other partner wants more space. And lastly, there's the fear-shame dynamic, where one partner's insecurities can accidentally trigger feelings of shame or avoidance in the other. So you take these patterns, and they act as the blueprint for how the power dynamics are going to unfold in the relationship as a whole. Let's take decision making and look at it through the lens of the distancer-pursuer pattern. Here, the pursuer might attempt to initiate joint decision making, or they might want to have open discussions on important matters, while a distancer avoids involvement. They don't want to talk about it. They're pulling away, leaving the pursuer to take on the mental load of decision making. If anything's going to happen, if anything's going to move forward, they have to take all that on, for better or worse. Okay, now let's look at finances in a relationship, again through the lens of power dynamic patterns. Let's start with the fear-shame pattern in relationships. One partner might feel insecure about the level of their financial contributions and then might avoid discussions entirely, while the other unknowingly exerts financial dominance, reinforcing these feelings of inadequacy in the other. There's an uneven playing field here. One partner feels undervalued, where the other one exudes this power, even if they don't want it. So now let's look at the power dynamic of emotional influence through the pattern of demand withdrawal. The demander might want emotional support or validation, while the withdrawing partner shuts down, leading to an imbalance where one partner carries all the emotional weight in the relationship. They want to connect, but they can't. Unhealthy or uneven power dynamics can wreak havoc on a relationship, and here's why. There's an erosion of trust. When one partner consistently wields more control over the relationship, trust is diminished because the less empowered partner might start to feel like their voice doesn't matter, leading to a lack of emotional safety for both partners. Then there's emotional disconnection. Imbalances can create a dynamic where one partner feels overwhelmed and the other disengaged, and it can cause both partners to drift apart, feeling more like cohabitants in the same house rather than true partners. Power imbalances often result in arguments where one partner's needs are prioritized over the other. And these unresolved issues can fester, creating a cycle of frustration and resentment. Then there's the impact on your own self-worth. The partner with less power may internalize feelings of inadequacy or even failure, which can affect their self-esteem and overall mental health. And lastly, there's instability. Frequent or dramatic shifts in power dynamics can make the relationship feel unpredictable and unsafe, leaving both partners on edge. And eventually, this can lead to the relationship just dissolving because you can't live in this state of discomfort for a protracted period of time. So how can you tell if your relationship has a power problem? Let's look at some key indicators. Number one, unequal decision making. That's where one partner consistently makes decisions without input or consultation or collaboration. Then there's dismissal of feelings, where one partner's emotions or opinions are routinely dismissed. That's a sign of imbalance. Then there's control over resources, where one partner has a disproportionate amount of control over finances, time, or other shared resources. There's also emotional manipulation, using guilt, fear, or other tactics to sway decisions or actions. That's a red flag. Lack of boundaries, where one partner's privacy or personal space is not respected. If your partner's crossing boundaries, reading your journal, looking through your phone without letting you know, that's a power imbalance. And lastly, power plays during conflict. That means threats to leave or withdrawing affection in order to win arguments or exert control. Recognizing these signs is a step towards change. but also reflect on how these dynamics affect your emotional and relational health. Really look at these red flags. The good news is if you recognize a power imbalance, it doesn't have to be permanent. You can heal them, and here's how to start addressing them. Number one, open and honest communication. Start by naming the issue, and remember to use I statements to express how the imbalance makes you feel without assigning blame, so the other person will be receptive to hearing you. Number two, start inviting in mutual decision making. Actively involve your partner in decisions. If they hold most of the power, ask for small, manageable changes to balance the responsibilities. Start small. Number three, set boundaries. Clearly articulate your limits and expectations. If your partner resists, reinforce that boundaries are about respect, not control. If your partner wants to look through your phone, the issue is really why. Why is there a lack of trust? And that might be something for the two of you to discuss, or for you to talk to a therapist about. Number four, support one another's independence. Encourage hobbies, interests, and friendships outside the relationship. This helps both sides to maintain individuality and reduce codependence. If there's anxiety there, that trust factor, that's something you have to talk about. Number five, challenge old patterns. Reflect on how childhood roles or traumas might influence your current dynamics. Breaking these patterns takes time and effort, but in the end, it's worth it. It will make your relationship stronger. If your partner resists looking at these imbalances, focus on what you can control, what you can shift. Start by modeling healthy behaviors, set firm boundaries, and seek support from a therapist or a life coach, someone that will hear you out and give you some unbiased support. Remember, you can't force someone to change, but you can create a relationship environment that encourages growth. Couples therapy can offer tools to rebalance these dynamics, and individual therapy can help you to unpack personal triggers and traumas. Power dynamics aren't static. They evolve along with life changes like career shifts, parenthood, or health challenges. So there might not be a power imbalance during the first 5 years of your relationship, but as you get married, as you have kids, things can happen. Balancing power is an ongoing process that requires awareness, empathy, and a willingness to adapt. As one expert puts it, the key is to stay curious, to stay empathetic, and to stay open to renegotiating roles as life throws challenges at you. Power dynamics are a natural part of any relationship. They're going to show up. The goal isn't to eliminate them, but to balance them. A healthy relationship is one where both partners feel heard, respected, and valued. If you're feeling stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help. Therapy can be a powerful tool for recognizing and shifting these dynamics. So what about you? Have you noticed power imbalances, power dynamics in your relationships? Let's start the conversation in the comments. And remember, love isn't about control, it's about connection.